One of our most requested recipes from our readers is 100% homemade strawberry cake. No cake mixes, no Jell-O mixes, just 100% fresh strawberries and a homemade strawberry buttercream. Today, I'm showing you how to make it. Now, the key to the best flavored strawberry cake is to first make a homemade strawberry puree. So you'll need about 1 to 1.5 quarts of strawberries. I usually buy 2 quarts just to be safe. Take those strawberries, wash them, take the stem off, and just cut them into chunks if they're big, and then put them into a food processor. And what we'll do is just blend these down until they're just all blended like a puree. It's okay if there's a few chunks in there still. They will continue to cook as we simmer them on the stove and cook down to a beautiful smooth puree. Now you'll want about 3 cups of strawberries at this point. And then as they simmer on the stovetop, they're gonna simmer down and reduce to about 1.5 cups. So make sure you have about 3 cups, and then if you don't, just add in a few more strawberries, blend them up, and you're ready to go. Get yourself a small saucepan, put it over low heat, and add those pureed strawberries in. Now you'll just let these strawberries simmer. It might take half an hour, it might take an hour. It really depends on how high the temperature is. You don't want to put it too high or they will burn on the bottom. Don't add any sugar. This is just straight up pureed strawberries. As it simmers over low heat for that 30 to 45 minutes to maybe even an hour, just stir it several times to make sure it's not burning on the bottom. Now, because this has to cook for a little bit and then be cool before you put it in the cake, I went ahead and made up some puree yesterday, let it simmer for a while. This is what it's gonna look like. I ended up with about 1.5 cups, which was perfect. Once it's cooled, you can go ahead and start making your cake. Take a small bowl and to it add 2.5 cups of cake flour. Yes, we use cake flour in this recipe. It really just helps the cake to have a beautifully light texture. Then add 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder, half of a teaspoon of baking soda, and then half of a teaspoon of salt. Take a whisk and whisk those together, or you can use a sifter if you have one to sift all of those ingredients together. And then set that aside as you mix up the wet ingredients. Cream together 3/4 of a cup of room temperature butter and 1.5 cups of sugar. Mix until all of that butter is totally mixed in. Then I'll add in half of a cup of milk, 3 tablespoons of canola oil, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and 1 teaspoon of strawberry extract. Now, if you don't have strawberry extract or can't find it in the store, you can just add 2 tablespoons of vanilla. And then go ahead and mix that together. Next, add in 5 large egg whites only. The whites only really help that cake to just keep a little bit more of a pinky color to it rather than turning it yellow from the egg yolks. Then take your strawberry puree that's cooled off and add half of a cup of the strawberry puree to your cake batter. And then mix that in. You'll want to mix this for about 2 minutes just to make sure those eggs are really well blended in. Now at this point, if you would like, you can add in just a touch of red food coloring to make your cake more pink. So the strawberries will not give a strong pink color to this cake. It's gonna look more whitish, even have a little bit of a gray tone, which sounds strange, but it's a very natural looking color. So if you would like your strawberry cake to look pink, add in at this point just 1 or 2 drops of red food coloring. Now it's time to add that flour mixture in. I'll put in about half of the flour mixture, mix it up, and then I'll put in the other half. At this point, I'll mix this just until it's barely combined, and then I'll take a spatula and scrape the edges of the bowl just to make sure it's all combined. Next, it's time to prepare the cake pans. Take 2 9-inch cake pans, and then we want to grease and flour the cake pans so that they come out of the pans cleanly. You can grease the pan with shortening and then dust it with flour. You can use a cake release spray, but we make a homemade cake release. It's equal parts shortening, flour, and oil. We mix it up. We keep it on hand for times like this when we're baking a cake, and the cakes come out of the pans cleanly every time. Divide the batter evenly between the two pans. Take a spatula and just spread that batter evenly in the pan. Then they are ready for the oven. Preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and bake the cakes for about 25 minutes. The center of the cake, when you touch it, should spring back. As the cakes are cooling, you can go ahead and mix up your strawberry buttercream. Buttercream is easiest to make in a stand mixer. So we have our stand mixer here, and I will add 3 sticks of room temperature butter. That's 1.5 cups. Blend that until the butter is almost white in appearance. It'll be 2 to 3 minutes. Once the butter is well creamed, you can add 1/2 teaspoon salt, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. You'll need about 5.5 cups of powdered sugar. I'm going to add 1/2 of that in and then start it out on low. The rest of the strawberry puree that you pre-made and have cooled and ready to go is going to go in the frosting also. So you should have about 1 cup of strawberry puree left. I'll put in about 1/2 to start and then mix that in. Then I'll add in the rest of the powdered sugar. Once all that powdered sugar is mixed in, add just a couple more tablespoons of strawberry puree. The exact amount is really just going to depend on how much moisture is left in that puree. So don't just dump it in or you're gonna end up having to add more powdered sugar, which we might have to do to get a good consistency. Once the frosting looks like it has a spreadable consistency, not too thick but not too thin, you're ready to decorate the cake. Take a pretty cake plate and place 1 cake layer on that cake plate. Dollop a big scoop of strawberry frosting and place it right on top. Make sure your cake layers are completely cooled because this is a very soft frosting and it will melt if the cake layers are still warm at all. Then take your second cake layer and place it on top. Our strawberry cake recipe bakes pretty flat, so you shouldn't have too much of a dome on top to cut off. It should be pretty even. Then just take the rest of that frosting, or as much of the frosting as you'd like. If you like a naked cake with just a little bit of frosting, it's definitely less calories. You can do that, and you may only need to make about 1/2 of the recipe of frosting if that's what you choose to do. We're just gonna spread this frosting all over the top and then on the sides of the cake. We don't actually worry about the cake edges or top being too smooth. We like a little bit of a rustic look, so just get it as smooth as you can. Now you can leave this cake as is. You can use cut strawberries to decorate the top. We just take strawberries, full strawberries, and just place them right on top for a pretty and simple decoration. And that is your 100% homemade strawberry cake. One of our most often asked questions is how to store cake. A lot of cakes are okay at room temperature, but if you would like this one to last the longest possible, I recommend just covering it and storing it in the refrigerator because of all that fresh fruit. It looks fantastic. I'm Julie from The Best Cake Recipes. Thanks for watching today. I hope your family loves this cake. Be sure to like, subscribe, and check back next week for a new video.